Iran calls for talks to end the crisis in Syria. As rebels battle government forces in the fight for control of the country, Iran holds a conference to help end the 16-month-old conflict.
All the countries that have a role in the crisis in Syria must accept the reality that the political situation in Syria is such that the only way to reach a solution is through internal political talks.
More than 25 nations are called to the table in Iran, none of them supporting the Syrian opposition. Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salahi says Syria must find its own path. The Syrian government has said it is ready for dialogue. But opposition forces say there can be no talks if President Bashar al-Assad remains in power.
The minister said that regional countries and international community should join hands to solve the Syrian crisis through peaceful and diplomatic ways. Meanwhile, he noted that the biggest obstacle to a peaceful solution on Syrian problem was foreign intervention by some countries.
Assad can still make the choice to end the violence, save lives, and spare his country from descending further into ruin. But if he continues to reject that choice, we and the Syrian people will keep pressure on him until his deadly regime cracks and collapses, because it will. I'm absolutely confident of that. Our goal is to bring as much pressure to bear as we can, not only on Assad, but on those around him. I said in my statement, I spoke directly to those who are supporting Assad, including members of his security forces. They're continuing to kill their brothers and sisters is a stain on their honor.
If the world is not able to stop the violence in Syria, will history judge it badly?
That depends entirely on the outcome, and we don't know yet what the outcome is going to be.
But it gets worse day by day.
Yes, but what might happen, we have no way of predicting. Look at Libya. We were very happy to get rid of Gaddafi. Do we have democracy today in Libya? Do we have stability?
No, we have competing forces trying to take power.
Exactly.
The NATO alliance would like to build upon any division within the groups or the parties that they have revolutionized against the Gaddafi regime. And according to my own understanding, they would like to see certain provinces being divided inside the state of Libya.
Look, I think every one of us would like to see Security Council action. The United States worked very hard to obtain a resolution.
Oh, a wise guy, a head clunker, eh? Came from back. Get out of here. He didn't do it. And you did.
That was vetoed by Russia and China, although it received support from every other member of the Security Council, from Latin America to Africa to Europe to Asia. The entire world, other than Russia and China, were willing to recognize that we must take international action against the Syrian regime.
It's completely biased and leaning exclusively on the Syrian government. It doesn't have anything about the need for dialogue, doesn't encourage opposition for dialogue. In fact, our concern is that it's going to push the more extreme, the more destructive elements of the Syrian opposition towards even stronger efforts in order to topple the Syrian government. So that's why we do not like at all what our Western colleagues are trying to achieve by that resolution, and have proposed an alternative to that, to keep the Security Council involved, but to have it involved in a positive way.
We need to change the attitude of the Russian and Chinese governments. They must understand they are setting themselves against the aspirations not only of the Syrian people, but of the entire Arab Spring, the Arab awakening.
today the press secretary is saying how they've been talking about Egypt and the need for reform and bringing this up in every meeting. That's not the way many Egyptians see it. Most Egyptians see the United States as having stood solidly by President Mubarak while the government here grew more and more corrupt, and they see the Americans as complicit in it. And just today, for example, when we were out on the streets, this is what a lot of people were showing us about American involvement. And if you can see in my hands, this is one of the tear gas canisters, and very clearly written in English on it, it says "Made in the USA by Combined Tactical Systems from Jamestown, Pennsylvania." And they say this is the kind of support the United States has been giving to the Egyptian government.
Yesterday, I went to the courthouse in Benghazi to see where the February 17th revolution began. 9 months later, Gaddafi is dead and an al-Qaeda flag flies over the courthouse. I guess this means the revolution is over and the battle for Libya begins. This is Raymond Pagnucco, reporting for CNN.
There is word that the CIA has sent operatives into Libya to meet with opposition forces and assess their needs in the event President Obama decides to arm them.
In this particular case, we have to follow the advice and work closely with the Turks and the Saudis. These are the two countries with the biggest direct interest and with the possibility of doing something. In the case of Syria, it's complicated by the fact there are two powers that are indirectly competing against each other within Syria, but indirectly, Iran and Israel.
The minister declared in the meeting that Iran is part of the solution, not the problem of the Syrian crisis. U.S. expert emphasized that the West should appreciate Iran's efforts to resolve the Syrian conflict.
Because of their relationship with Assad, the president of Syria, they can and have, they've had this strong relationship for a very long time, so they can help steer him towards a better outcome of the situation now, or even help stop some of the conflict that's happening within the country. I think what we're missing in the West is that, we're constantly saying we only want certain help for this. And we're looking at Russia and China when Iran probably can actually talk the Assad government into really calming down and stopping some of the violence now.